What is up, guys? Ben Allen back again with another video, and I have a familiar face here.
Diamond Dave.
Diamond Dave, right? Also known as David Guerrero. He was a former 11 Bravo in the United States Army. He was also with the 82nd Airborne, so he has some jumps under his belt, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today, guys. A lot of people ask us, like, oh, how do I get airborne? Like, how do I get it at basic? Do I get it in my unit? Like, it was in my contract? Like, this, that, and the other, right? So if you're here, you're probably wondering, how do you go about getting airborne school in the United States Army? And that's exactly what we're going to talk about. So without further ado, let's get to it.
Sweet.
Alright guys, so like I said, I brought David on here, right, because he knows, pretty much everything there is to know about airborne. Because he went to Airborne School, he has 29 jumps, he was stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina with the 82nd Airborne. So today we're going to be covering, how to go about getting Airborne School, whether it be in your contract, at basic training, OSIT, or at your first duty station. So David, can you tell us a little about, like, what are the ways that, incoming soldiers can go about getting Airborne School?
Alright, so first off, see, when I was going in, I had specifically asked for it. The first time I went into the recruiter station, they didn't have it at all, and I waited about 2 weeks till they gave me a call back saying, okay, hey, we just had a slot open up for Airborne, and would you like to come in and actually do the process of signing the contract? So yeah, that's when I actually enlisted.
What option is that?
It's, first of all, it's option 4.
Option 4. Okay, and there's two different options, right? There's option 4 and option 40,
yeah,
right? So what are the differences between those two?
Option 4 is just Airborne.
Okay, so that just goes along with your contract?
Yeah.
All right.
Option 40 is after Airborne School. It is Airborne, but after that you would go to RASP.
Okay.
Either, I don't know if, I'm not too sure if later, like when I was still in, I remember you would go to Airborne School first and then RASP. I don't know if they changed that to go to RASP first and then Airborne School. But for that, I do believe you need like a 105 GT score.
Alright, and if you guys want a specific video talking about RASP and what exactly that is, just comment down RASP in the comment section below. It's R-A-S-P, RASP, right? But okay, so yeah, you're saying you got it in your contract, right? Like the recruiters called you and they put it up there, you signed for it. So like, is there any like special like availability? So like, say you have a combat job, like are you more prone to being able to get Airborne School in your contract, or is it just go off of like availability as to what they have kind of like with MOSs?
Pretty much, if you are doing any type of combat role in the Army, I would say, it's nothing official or anything, but I would say that yeah, you are more prone to have Airborne available for your contract. I know, every type of division, 82nd or 173rd, they have their support roles. They're always going to need Airborne, whether that be combat arms or any type of support role. But usually, most of the time, it will get down to any type of combat roles, just because the Airborne units, such as like 82nd or 173rd, as I said before, they're broken down into brigade combat teams. So obviously, combat team meaning any type of combat MOS.
Okay, but again, you still have support roles, in brigade combat teams. It's just not all combat MOSs. So I think what David's trying to say is that yes, if you do go in as a combat MOS, you're more than likely going to have a better chance of getting it in your contract, but at the same time, don't hold your breath, because it goes off of availability more often than not. Because if they have Airborne contracts available, like option 4 contracts available, then they can add that on, whether you're a cook or you're a medic or you're infantry or things like that. So again, depends on availability and combat MOSs and things of that nature, right? It could be different, but from our personal experience, that's what we know that it goes off of. And so that's done with the contracts, right? We've talked about contracts and how to go about trying to get that in your contract, right? And also just a caveat off of that, guys. Do not settle, right? If you really want Airborne School, but it's not available at the time that you go in, wait a little bit.
Yeah,
wait, just like David did. He waited, and 2 weeks later they called him and they gave him Airborne School.
Availability opens up or switches
it fluctuates
every week. Yeah.
Crazy. But yeah, just to talk about the contracts right there, guys. So now that we talked about that, so I hear like people can get it in basic training and OSIT, right? So how do they go about doing that? I know they really don't have like a like a set type of thing, but I know in my AIT and basic, they gave it to the people that like performed the best and like were like in the top 10% of like the class. So like, how did that work for you guys being infantry?
So like you said, it's pretty much if you're performing better than your peers, or you're a PT stud. Honestly, to me, doing good in PT is not everything, but it does look really good. But yeah, usually like maybe halfway towards the end of basic training or your OSA, they'll sit you guys down, ask who wants to be airborne, or they'll even come up to you personally. I remember having one of my buddies, he was set to be stationed at Fort Hood, and they brought him into the office. They talked to him. We're like, dude, what did he ask you? And he just came out like, yeah, they offered me airborne on my contract. Maybe this was about like 3 weeks before our OSET was going to be finished. So it can happen, guys. Just if you're doing good in basic or OSET, then it'll happen.
Okay, sweet. So there you go, guys. That's how you would get it, like in basic and OSA. Just perform better than your peers. Volunteer. Be good at PT, things like that. And who knows? Maybe you'll get offered Airborne School, right, for being better than other people. And so now that's basic and OSIT. So now once you get to this is the last topic, guys. So once you get to your duty station, right, your actual duty station, say like you go to Fort Bliss or Fort Carson or Fort Wainwright in Alaska, right? Like, how would they go about getting Airborne School if they didn't get it in their contract? They weren't offered it at basic and OSIT. So how would that work in your experience?
In my experience, there aren't too many dudes in the middle of their contract that would just get it, but you have a very high chance of getting it when you're re-enlisting. As an E4, if you hit E5, your re-enlistment options are a little bit narrowed down, but when you're re-enlisting as an E4, you can pretty much go anywhere. And as far as schools go, Airborne School will be there. It'll be there when you're re-enlisting, because that's how they get you.
Yeah, and then if you're thinking of getting out and you really wanted Airborne,
yeah,
they will probably more than likely throw Airborne School at you to keep you in the military, to try and get you to stay.
But if you're doing that way, make sure you see it on paper, because sometimes they'll be like, yeah, we'll get you Airborne School when you re-enlist, and you don't get it. So just make sure you get it on paper.
You don't want to get snaked. Yeah. Make sure it's on paper, because if it's not on paper, then you're screwed. Mm-hmm. But also, guys, and like from my own personal experience, like we had the school's NCO, like they would have a certain number of slots available for like Airborne School, Air Assault, things like that, and they'd pretty much like have certain slots, or they divide the slots up between the platoons. So like the medic platoon, for example, we had like 3 or 4 slots, for Air Assault. So they were like, who wants to go to Air Assault? And they sent them to Air Assault School. So sometimes it could work out like that, guys. But it just depending on your unit and what's available. But that pretty much covers most of the ways you can go about getting Airborne School in the United States Army, right? Whether that be in your contract, you get it for performing above your peers in basic and OSIT, or if they have slots available at your first duty station, or you're coming up on re-enlistment and they offer it to you, right, guys? But I just want to thank David, right, former 11 Bravo, for coming onto the channel. Airborne 11 Bravo at that, guys, for coming onto the channel and talking about that a little bit. We're going to be posting another video shortly after this one titled What is Airborne School Like in the United States Army? And that's pretty much going to be going over, the actual breakdown, like once you first get there, how's in processing, what's Airborne School actually like. It's like 3 weeks of training, what really goes down in those 3 weeks of training. And but yeah, if you guys are excited for that one, just comment down Airborne down below, and we'll even hit on some of the bases you can get stationed at as an Airborne qualified soldier in that video as well. So again, guys, if you're new to this channel, subscribe for all your airborne needs that David can supply, all your medical needs that I can supply, right, being a former 68 Whiskey, and just Army knowledge in general, guys. It would really mean the world to us if you consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and again, comment Airborne down below if you're excited for this video and the next video we have coming out. And also, guys, if you have any questions for David pertaining to the 82nd Airborne, Airborne in general, you can hit him up on his Instagram at
Diamond Day 14.
Diamond Day 14, guys. He'll answer all your questions, and if you have any medical questions or just questions about, the Army in general, you can feel free to hit me up at Ben_Allen175. We always answer our DMs, guys. No question goes left unanswered, and we always make sure to get back to you guys. So again, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate y'all, and we'll see y'all on the next one. Later.